Yo, this is Jay from Straight Smoke Gaming, and in today's video, we're going to talk about 8 NFL free agents that are still available that, teams might want to consider signing. I'm going to give you some teams that could potentially be in the running for them that would make sense for them to sign with. Now, keep in mind, these are just my opinions, so my top 8 free agents, these are teams that I think they could sign with. This is all subjective, so go ahead, comment down below. Let me know what you guys think. But we're going to go and get started here. So with the first name being Stephon Diggs, he's still currently a free agent. Wide receiver, really good wide receiver. He was with the Texans last year, had a bit of an unfortunate injury. Didn't really go as well for him or the team last year as they were expecting. Still a really good receiver, not exactly young, but, he could still slide in probably as a wide receiver one in some spots. A really good wide receiver too. So some teams that could potentially be in the running, obviously you got the Patriots, the Raiders make sense as well. The Chargers need another wide receiver weapon, especially with the young core that the Chargers already have. Bringing in a vet like Diggs might help. I mean, there's a lot of teams that could use help at the wide receiver position. You can never really have too much depth at the wide receiver position. They're doing a lot of running. Those guys are constantly getting switched out and subbed out. Diggs is still really good at this point in his career, and he can make an impact on a team. Number 2, Aaron Rodgers. Played on the Jets last year, coming off the Achilles tear. Did not look as good as teams were hoping and players were hoping, and I'm sure Jets fans were hoping. But he still, he didn't really play bad. At this point in his career, he's a bridge quarterback. I don't really think he's going to be a quarterback that is going to go out there and you want to build your offense around him. But, he's a guy that you can slide in and play for a couple of years until you find your guy or while you develop your guy. With that being said, some teams that could be interested in him, the Titans, if they go there, that opens up a lot more options at the first overall pick. The Giants, who potentially, if the Titans and Browns both go quarterback, they might be out of an option at quarterback unless they reach or trade back. And, the Steelers, with them losing Fields and Wilson still being unsigned, it's really not really sure what's going to go on for the Steelers. So that's an option there. Number 3, Cam Robinson, offensive tackle. I believe it was a Viking last year. And I also think he had an injury last year. Maybe they traded for him because of an injury. But still, a really good tackle. And you can never have too much offensive line depth, but this really wouldn't be a depth move. This is a guy that you'd slide in and he could start for you. He isn't exactly young. He's a little bit on the older side. I believe I seen it said he was 29. So teams that could be interested in him, the Rams, they got some money. So if you bring in an offensive tackle, that will help. The Seahawks, their line's bad, so you could improve the offensive line there. The Patriots, they could use some offensive line improvement. Then the Raiders as well, they don't have a good offensive line. So there's a lot of teams that could definitely be in the running for him to be a starter. And then there's other teams that they could be in the running just to add the depth. But Cam Robinson's a guy that you could definitely slide in to start or be a depth piece, pretty important piece to your offense. Number 4, you got Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper, it's interesting with him. I don't really know where the fall off happened. After the trade to the Bills, really was kind of irrelevant. I don't know if that was really a scheming thing or a play calling thing, because I know the Bills were really run heavy, and maybe if they used him a little bit more and passed it a little bit more, we would see a different outcome of him in Buffalo. But I still think Cooper is a good wide receiver and could honestly still slide in as a wide receiver one. I view him in the same tier as Stephon Diggs at this point. Teams that could be interested in him, obviously you got the Chargers, the Patriots, the Raiders, and, the Bills. They could bring him back as well. Same thing with Stephon Diggs. The Bills are an option there. Cooper, I think he could still be good. I think he just got he got the short end of the stick in Buffalo last year. So with that being said, I think Cooper could still slide in and be pretty important for a team. Next up, Russell Wilson. Like I was saying, has not re-signed with the Steelers yet, so he's a free agent. When he played with the Steelers last year, he really didn't play that bad. He's kind of in the same tier as Rodgers now, a bridge quarterback, a guy that you can put in there to help develop a young guy, a guy that you can play for a couple years while you're trying to find your future quarterback. And, still a competent quarterback, not a guy that's going to have you be one of the worst teams in the league. So that being said, you got the Steelers, obviously, you got the Titans, you got the Giants, and you obviously still got the Browns. So with all those teams, and say a team comes to him with a strong offer because they want him as a good backup, I would love to have Russell Wilson as my backup quarterback. He could still play at a high level and still win you some ball games. So I think Russell Wilson at this point in his career, he's kind of a fringe starter, bridge quarterback to a backup. So interesting, could help out some teams there. Number 6, Brandon Scherf. He was a guard, I believe, with the Jags last year. Still a free agent now. Good guard. I mean, there's a lot of teams that could use help here. And, he's older, so this kind of opens up the thing where he's not going to get paid as much as like a Cam Robinson would for an offensive lineman. So that opens up spots for like the teams like the Chiefs that need offensive linemen, and they're kind of strapped for money because you're paying a quarterback a lot of money. So Scherf's a guy that you could get relatively cheap, I would imagine. So the Chiefs have an option. The Raiders, they still need help. Seahawks, and he's a depth guy too. So every team should be interested in him, whether it's for depth, whether it's for starting, but especially the teams that need offensive line help, like the 49ers just lost a guard. The Chiefs need offensive help, and those teams don't really got a lot of money to work with right now. Next up, you got Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen, older wide receiver, not so much a 1 anymore, probably a better 2 or a 3. He was on the Bears last year. He was interesting. He had some good games, but then he also had games where he was pretty irrelevant and, just kind of like he was out there running cardio. But, from a veteran standpoint of a guy that knows what it takes to be in the NFL, a good wide receiver in his prime, I think this would be a good signing for young wide receiver rooms, like the Chargers, maybe even just a young offense in general. The Raiders potentially, they're trying to get a little bit older, build a little bit of an identity. The Patriots, I think he could do a lot of things there. The Patriots, a lot of the rookies that the Patriots have been taking haven't really panned out. Maybe you get a vet that was really good in his prime. Maybe that would help develop some of these guys. So that's Keenan Allen's potential spots. Number 8, Nick Chubb. Interesting guy here. This is the last guy on the list. He's coming off a bad injury. Not exactly sure how he's going to pan out. When he came back, didn't really look like the Nick Chubb that everyone seen before the injury. But, who knows? Got to give him a little bit of time. Maybe when he comes back and he's back up to speed and all that, and he has a full off season, maybe we see a different Nick Chubb. So with that being said, you got obviously the Browns. They don't really have a backup plan in place yet for losing Nick Chubb, so they could bring him back. The Cowboys, they could use some running back help considering they lost Rico. Yeah, they brought in Javonte, but that's nothing really special. And, even Denver, they could use that. Nick Chubb's he's a vet. When he's healthy, is a really good running back. And, he kind of brings that, physical running style with speed as well. So I think Nick Chubb could help a lot of teams. And, those are the 8 guys that I have for this video. I just was looking at the list that I have here next to me, realized they didn't put any defensive guys. There's a lot of guys still out there. And, the longer this goes and the closer you get to the draft, it's just going to lower some more guys' values. So some teams could potentially get some steals here. And with, the off-season workouts starting, injuries are going to happen. We might see some more of these guys get signed. But when it comes to this video, that's all we got. So if you enjoyed, please remember to like and sub for more Madden content, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.